Hey, I'm Andy Chanley from 88.5 FM, and what you've tuned into here is one of our here at home interviews. I like to welcome in Sugaray Rayford. How you doing, Sugaray?
I'm good, man. I'm on this side of the grass. It's all good, brother.
I've never heard that. That's good. Uh, the new album is called In Too Deep, and it comes out March 4th on 40 Below Records. And you've been hearing his music on 88.5 FM for years. We love him. And celebrating the drop of the new record at the Mint, the 4th of March on the day of release. Congratulations on the new album. It's really solid.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Again, Eric Corne, brother. I just keep saying that name, Eric Corne. Eric Corne. I think it was a wise decision for me to sign up with him. I mean, I don't know if he ever told you the story how he and I met, but it's amazing how things work out the way, or how you put it when you put it out in the universe and come back. So I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and the universe, literally set that path ablaze for me. So that's been really cool.
Let's tell everybody who he is. Eric Corne is the producer and writer that you've worked with on this album, and you did before. I mean, it worked out pretty good the first time. You got yourself a Grammy nomination and all kinds of recognition for it. But I mean, you and I are about the same age. I think we're like 6 months apart. And you've been singing for a long time, but just now with this synergy between you and Eric, things really seem to have hit and fallen into a groove. What do you owe that to?
Well, I would say the last 15 years I've been just concentrating on doing blues stuff, and did a lot of blues stuff, and the blues world got pretty big. And then the funny thing is, a lot of people have heard my voice and didn't realize me. I've done the commercials for McDonald's, for Cadillac, for Jim Beam, and all this stuff, and they've been hearing my voice but didn't know me, and so it's been basically stuff like that, but mostly just blues. And I had just done an album with a group in Italy called the album is called The World That We Live In. And those guys, along with some of the members of the Daptones, they had heard me before, a couple years before, and they really wanted to push it. And it was this kind of a soul jazz blues gospel thing, and it was so funky, and it reminded me of what I grew up with. And after I came back from doing that album, I really loved it. And I came back up with like a 10-month tour. I was exhausted, been exhausted. And I was standing in front of the Orpheum Theater, getting ready to go in to play with a friend of mine, Del Toro Richardson, and downtown Memphis, and the Orpheum. And then at that time my booking agent came up to me and was like, "Hey man, I got this guy I'd like to introduce you to. He's pretty cool." And I was like, "Okay." I had 3 blues contracts in my hand from 2 major blues labels and a smaller label, and I was like. But my mind was like, I didn't want to go back into I didn't want to do another straight ahead blues album. I had, besides my own discography, I'm on probably another 30 albums that this stuff I've done just all over. And it was funny. He's like, "This is Eric Corne." I was like, I didn't know who Eric Corne was. I had never heard of him, but that doesn't matter because music is that way. And, he was trying to talk to me, and I'm like, "Man, I don't talk business. I'm exhausted. You want to talk business? My wife is my manager. You speak to her. I'm just sitting here." So, lo and behold, 2 days later, we were in LA, and my wife we still live in LA, and we live in Arizona. We live in both, and Eric lived in LA, so they had already set up meetings. So literally, not only did I not get a chance to rest, but as soon as I got back to LA the next day, I was sitting at a table having a meeting with Eric Corne, and I really liked the idea, and I was like, "Man, this is like when I was in Blind Faith." I said, "I'm really digging this." I said, "He's like, what are you looking for?" I said, I said, I really love what Sharon Jones, Troy Bradley, Lee Fields. I said, Sharon's gone, Charles is gone, Lee Fields still out there doing. I said, I love that. I said, and it's kind of like remind me of the old gospel stuff I did, and it's just kind of like no one's really doing that right now. And I've been experimenting a little bit on the live shows and the blues shows, especially in Europe, because the blues shows in Europe are it may say blues, but they're music shows. So, we did shows with Pink, we did shows with 50 Cent, we did shows with Snoop, to be name dropping outside the United States. So he was like, "Yeah, that's the idea that I had, man. I really like to push you into AAA." And I'm like, "What's AAA?" Again, I've been living in the whole subworld.
It's not the motor club. They're not talking about the auto club.
Yeah. That's right. And so anyway, we worked out a deal, and everything was good. And then Eric is so fast, he was ready to start writing right away. And I'm like, dude, I have 170 shows this year worldwide. I have, so literally I was on the road, and what I would do is just give him ideas of, not even ideas, just giving him my life story in bits and pieces. And I'd be darned if he didn't take those and run with them. And that first album, Somebody Save Me, I mean, he literally just took everything I told him in my little journal and just turned them into the most beautiful and deep songs. Because the other thing I've always told Eric, and I've told anyone I've ever worked with, I don't sing anything that I haven't lived or that I can't really get behind. Because I believe as a singer, our job is to emote emotions. It's about the story. That's the thing with the blues. I know a lot of people love the guitar, harmonica, piano, and all that, but the blues is an oratory music. It was a way for my people to spread their history through song, unwritten. So it's got to be real, or else it's just make a lot of noise. Which is also why I stopped doing all the vocal gymnastics a while back and just started getting to the meat of the song, what the song's about. And so Eric understood that, and so that album came out marvelously. Actually, we had a couple of tunes that we weren't even able to put on the album. I think he only put 10 out. And so with this album, though, I did get to write on like 3 of the songs because I'm sitting home with COVID. Taking care of my wife, but I'm sitting on the COVID. But again, Eric literally took my life and just turned it into song. So this is probably, and that was a long way to say all this, that this is probably one of the rawest albums I've ever done. And what I mean by that, this is the first time in my professional career that I'm holding no punches and I'm just letting the freak flag kind of fly out there. This is my diary that you're reading when you listen to somebody's In Too Deep. This is my diary. This is my life.
Well, and thanks for that context on this. In talking about the new album, getting specific, Gonna Lift You Up, I think, is maybe my favorite track.
Thank you, brother.
When people listen to it, man, it is really hard to be down in the dumps when you've got brass horns and a gospel-y chorus. It puts a smile on your face. I wasn't surprised to read that you'd been singing since you were 7 years old in church.
Younger than that for singing. I was playing drums at 7.
That gospel feel, you are getting maybe more and more bluesy with your songs, with your albums, but the gospel never leaves it, does it?
No, it can't, because that's me. I mean, I always tell people that when in the era where we grew up, you had all these great singers. Almost all of them came out of the gospel church, where it was Baptist or Holiness. As far as the black singers went, when you get talking about the Arethas and the Sam Cooks and the Marvin Gayes and the Barry Whites and the Isaac Hayes and the all the way up to the Luthers, to you name it, they all were church bound. We were all church bound, and the reason why is not just because black people went to church like that. I tell people that by the time a singer or a musician from the church goes out into the secular world, you're already pro, and probably more pro than the people that call themselves pro, because pretty much for your entire life, you have been running through the crucible. The great thing about the church is that people would let you know right then and there. We're no waiting to see if it worked. you knew. And then, some folks be nice about it, but black folks will come up and tell you, like, baby, not everybody's supposed to be a singer. Somebody's supposed to be the usher. They come up and tell you, like, ain't no holds barred. So by the time you got to doing stuff outside the church, it was actually easy, if that makes any sense, without being
it does.
And so, and people also wonder, like, so, well, how do these guys are so animated? And I say, when you talk about the James Browns again, the Howlin' Wolves, or we go up to the Teddy Pendergrasses, to the James Ingrams and all this stuff, they're like, when they're dancing, they're this, that, and that. I said, well, you got to realize that unlike today, I grew up in an era where everyone could sing, everyone could play. So you had to find a way to how you say this, to separate or differentiate, I can't get the word out, yourself from other people. What made you stand out? I mean, this guy was here, got 3 octaves, and he can do that and that. What made, so this is why the T-Bone Walkers and all these guys played behind their heads and did the splits and all that, because we grew up in an era where, you had to be more than just play and sing. You had to quote unquote entertain. And that's my strong suit, is I like to entertain, and I was taught and brought up to entertain.
Yeah. I know I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it's interesting thinking about that. You know, you coming out of Texas and coming out of the South, the deep South, where gospel and blues are everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's you're steeped in that. Southern California, you moved to Southern California, not so much in Southern California.
Well,
Not as
it,
much. What
no,
made you stick with Southern California?
because it was very strange. 10 years in the Marine Corps. And for some reason, no matter where they ship me in the world, lived in Japan for 3 years, Philippines, blah, 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 you name it. For some reason, whenever that duty was over, they always sent me back to Camp Pendleton, 21 area, right outside Oceanside, California. Over 10 years, all the duty stations I had, they would send me back there. When I got out of Marine Corps at the end of '92, I was right there in Oceanside. Lived in Oceanside for 6 months, then moved to Vista for a couple years. And so, it was like, well, I'm here. And to a lesser, well, not much so much a lesser extent, after seeing the world, Texas is always home, and I will always give it the love and respect. But after seeing the world and meeting so many interesting people that were not Black, you know, um, it was almost kind of like going backwards. Can I say that without being sounding evil?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, yes, you can say it. I totally agree with, I'm from Indiana, and I think that living by a large body of water, you live in a universal city, and you're exposed to so much more culture and so many more different types of people. You can't be closed-minded because you live next door to these people of different heritage, and so you have to be open-minded and traveling. Who was it that said
traveling changes everything?
Yeah. Was it Mark Twain who said the cure for ignorance and closed-mindedness is travel?
Wow.
I'm badly paraphrasing him, but yeah, it's so true. So true.
It is very true. It's also why I insisted that my son, when he was in college, he went to Lewis and Clark up in Lake Oswego up in Oregon. But I made him take a year and travel with me to France and Norway and Spain and Brazil and all these places. And he's just like, now he loves to travel. He's going back to Japan with him and his girlfriend for vacation, and he's getting ready to go to some parts of Africa, somewhere in Africa he's going. And it's amazing. And now, I was also lucky that my grandmother, I was raised by my grandmother pretty much all my life, even though I had my mom. I mean, I know you know the situation with what happened, but my grandmother never taught bigotry. She never taught it. She never taught any type of racism. The only thing she would ever tell me was she didn't believe in defeatism. And what I mean by that is I could never come into my grandma and like, well, I didn't get the job because I was Black. That for her was never an excuse. That you couldn't even, no, I don't care if you had to work 20 hours more than the other kid. You get your butt out there and you compete. Being raised by her. But again, I never was raised racist or no racism. Didn't really see it. Not in my life, not my family. But what was so weird about that is you get older later, when I look back at my grandmother, considering the times she grew up and where she grew up, that she was an extraordinary person, and she just believed in love and she believed in education. Some of it formal, some of it is the education of life and what you hold on to, because it's kind of like that Curtis Mayfield song. She was also one of the people like, educated fools from uneducated schools or vice versa. And so she's like, education doesn't make you smart. Education does make you smart. Does not always make you intelligent. Those are two entirely different things. And so travel this is why in centuries past, people who had means would send their children abroad, because travel does change everything. It changes everything. It just, you're like, what? There's more than one way to put your tire on the car. There's more than one way to wear your hair. There's more than, okay, wow. Okay, I'm being simplistic about it, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Hey, switching gears for just a second, happy birthday. You just had a birthday a couple weeks ago. You're on the same lap as I am. How'd you celebrate it?
I sat at home, as I normally do, smoke cigars and just relax. It was great. Me and my dog. It was good.
Talking about other countries and visiting them, you're heading off after you do a few dates here in the States. You're going to the UK and the Netherlands. You're going to Europe. You touched on it for a second, but you've performed overseas many times. How's your music go over in other countries? Is it would you say the people are as receptive, more receptive, less receptive? How would you couch it?
Well, for me, it's really weird because I'm just now starting to be known in the States, but I've been playing in Europe for almost 20 years. So, you know, I headline shows in Europe. I've done shows with me and Johnny Lane, Johnny Lane, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Tedeschi Trucks. Again, my God, I did a show not too long ago in Canada. It was me, Buddy Guy, Naughty by Nature, Snoop Dogg, and Vanilla Ice. The weirdest thing, but so outside the States, I'm very well known, and it goes over great. And I'm doing really big shows. It's been right before, probably just a year or so before COVID hit, I started trying to do more in the States. And the reason why that happened was when I first started doing blues and whatnot, no one would really give me a chance in the States. And out of the blue, someone that called me from France, and I started working with that person, and they started their own booking and touring company, and I was already in place, and so we just kind of blew up. So we're going back to do. Actually, we already signed on to do two tours through Europe. One coming here in May, and then going back again in November. But I'm also very excited that I've also just been invited to come down to play South by Southwest, and then I also just got an invitation, and we just booked the tickets and everything for NomCom in Philly, and those are big because I know they're invitation only, and I'm kind of beside myself that the industry has even piqued enough interest that I would get those invites, and that is just crazy for me.
I think it's well deserved. I often ask people in these interviews about their first instrument, and that's that kind of thing. I know you played drums when you were a kid, but your voice is your instrument. And so I'll ask this way: do you remember the first time you sang for a paying audience, not in church, but the first time you sang for a paying audience, and how that went over and how it made you feel?
Wednesday nights, I used to be a cooler for many years. I was a cooler, and I had 12 bouncers that worked for me, and had 3 or 4 clubs in the Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Encinitas in that area for many years. And so Wednesday nights at this one particular club that I was the bouncer cooler at was the night that the owner would bring in acts to try out. If they were good enough, then maybe they can get a Friday or Saturday. And so during that time, I wound up meeting all these different musicians and whatnot. And one night, it was a Saturday night, and there was some big rock band playing, and the guy was trying to impress the girls or something, doing all those high rock guy screams and all this stuff, and somehow or another he passes the mic to me, like to try to embarrass me. I don't know if he was trying to embarrass me or like nobody can do what I'm doing. I don't know if it was a bravado thing, whatever. I didn't know the song, but I've also always told people a melody is a melody is a melody. So I hadn't sang in years, so I was like, I just opened up a little bit and just went with the melodies, made up some stuff, and everybody just kind of stared at me. I said that to say that out of that came me meeting Nate Brown at the time. Oh no, James East, the brother of Nathan East at the time, Michael Mose, blah, blah. Anyway, we started the Urban Gypsies, and my life has been blessed. My very first gig was a corporate gig for Coca-Cola in Hawaii. So they dug it and they paid me well, and I was in Hawaii. So,
yeah,
that was my first paying gig.
3 reasons to enjoy that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was my first paying gig, and then after that, when I went to the blues, I think what really, after I wanted more, and I really wanted to write, and I wanted to do original stuff, I joined on Kisses Boys. Again, my wife, I left my band. I was an avocado farmer for years, if you already know that, and we were living in Fallbrook, California. My wife found this great blues jam in Temecula, and that's where I met Dwayne and Jimmy, and they already had a lead singer and everything. 3 weeks later, they invited me to come up to sing with them at the Idlewild Jazz Festival in Idlewild, and I was freaked out because all these black people was here, and I hadn't sang blues, and I hadn't got serious. It's not like doing, we were doing the top 40 cover stuff with the other band. No, now we're getting serious, and it's about hard. And the guy was like, "Why are you so nervous? You're gonna blow this out." I said, "Because there's black people out here," and they're like, "Well, what do they got to do with it?" I said, "You don't understand black people. Somebody, if I mess up, somebody gonna tell me. Ain't no walking out like, how was it? It's just gonna be like, So I was I was terrified. That one, I was terrified. I was terrified. It went over great, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I was literally terrified.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet nobody told you anything after that performance. Hey, what do you think you'd be doing if music didn't exist? If it wasn't something that you could be involved with?
It's very, I'm one of those people. I've had a lot of jobs. I've done a lot of things, but I really enjoy it when I had my avocado ranch. I really enjoyed that. I could have done that until they sprinkle my ashes. The other thing was, I was a diesel mechanic for a long time, and I left it because the Marine Corps kind of wore me out on it. But I actually got a great job offer as I left the Marine Corps from Peterbilt. In hindsight, the kind of money they were paying me back then, it was like, in hindsight, something like, wow, and I didn't even have to go to school. I mean, my military time and the things I done were apt enough for what they said was a bachelor's of something. And so, anyway, I don't know. I think the farming is near and dear to my heart. I've always loved it. I've done it off and on. I grew up in the city and the country, and I really enjoy farming. And I think that's probably what I'd be doing, man. As I tell people, I'm Sugaray Rayford, for all that don't know. I'm also Sugar Ray, but they're two different people. They both are part of me, but I can't be Sugar Ray 24 hours a day, or my wife would have cut my throat in my sleep years ago. So, when I'm not on stage, I'm Quran, and that happens at the shows. When I walk off that stage, I mean, how do you say this without sounding facetious? It's like, I am Sugar Ray, but I'm more Quran, and Quran is actually more introverted, but I do love people. So I'm also the same guy that when I walk off stage, you come up to say hi, I might talk to you for an hour, or I'll stay out there for 2 or 3 hours and sign CDs, but that's Quran, because Quran actually cares and appreciates that people came out. And people always talk about the money, and I always tell them the money is one thing, but when people spend time, people drive 45 minutes, an hour, drive around for another 10, 15 minutes to park, and then they sit in a sweaty room or even if it's huge theater for all this time to listen to you yell and scream at them all day. That is something that must be honored, appreciated and cherished. And so it's the two people. But as far as what I'd be doing, I think farming. Quran really I like farming.
I've sure enjoyed our chat. It's been nice to get to know you just a little bit today. Is it Quran or Quran?
Quran.
Quran. I've never heard that name before. Is that a family name or is it?
No, I've only heard it 3 times in my entire life. There's a great singer from one of the greatest groups I love called Loose Ends out of England. They were really big in R&B world in the 80s and whatnot. The original singer for that was Karen Wheeler. She spells hers the exact same way, Caron. And then there was Caron Butler, with the basketball player. But the original name is French. Caron delayed. When you're in France, whether you be in Paris or Bordeaux or wherever, you'll find those streets or those rues, and it'll say Quran. So it's a French name. My family, they gave us all really weird names. And, mine is Quran Nimoy Rayford. And then my brother next to me is Alvin Pinus Rayford. And then my baby brother, who's going to kill me, and because both of them are sheriffs in Texas, they're going to kill me for saying this. My baby brother, we grew up in the ghetto, and they named my baby brother Haskell Andre Rayford. So, he's always just called himself Andre, or by the nickname we call him Andy, and my other brother Pip. But don't call him Haskell.
I like that name, Andy. That's a good one.
Yeah, we call him Andy.
It was really fun to talk to you, and I wish you all the luck with the tour, and congratulations on the new album. It comes out March 4th, and you can go buy it where you buy records. It's out on 40 Below Records, called In Too Deep, and of course you'll always hear Sugar Ray his music on 88.5 FM.
Thank you guys for that.
Great to get to know you, and be well out there, and one of these days we'll have to get you into the studio and we'll do something in person.
Oh, I'd love to. But let me just say before we go, as I always lead up my own show, is hey guys, for God's sakes, be good to one another and to yourself. I'm out. Peace.
He gets the last word. I'm Andy from 88.5 FM. Take care.
88.5 FM, KCSN, and KCSN HD1 Northridge, Los Angeles. KSBR and KSBR HD1 Mission Viejo. A service of California State University Northridge and Saddleback College. Member-supported public radio. Streaming on the web at 88.5fm.org.